It's the Scotty Myers Show.
Hey, welcome to this week's edition of the show. Hopefully, you are having a fantastic week so far. I can say I'm having a pretty good week. I'm back home after 2 weeks on the road, and I dig the travel part of my job, but 2 weeks towards the end of it, I was really anxious to come back home. I mean, I missed my cat, my dog, and just kind of the regular routine you have at home. Because no matter how much you try to make your routine on the road routine, it's never the same, right? Because you're in a different hotel, different city. It's a different gym that you're trying to go to, or a different place that you're trying to run. We'll chat a little bit about running later. Just those types of things. So it's starting to wear on me, and especially how the first part of my trip started, driving a U-Haul truck through the mountains between Boise, Idaho and Portland, Oregon, and in crazy weather conditions, like snow coming out of nowhere, fog that you couldn't see through. It was very, very nerve-wracking. So really glad to have that trip behind me. Although if you heard the show last week, my wife got to come down and join me in San Francisco, which was a ton of fun. I really do love that city. It's a really, really cool city. The vibe there is just really neat. It really is. Everybody's very pleasant, very polite, really cool time in San Francisco. And apparently, because I have a client down in that area, I'll be there quite a bit. So I'm looking forward to that, especially when baseball season kicks in, and try to plan my trips down around some decent San Francisco Giant homestands. So as I mentioned, different places to run. As I record this, I am 1 month away from the Walt Disney World half marathon. I honestly do not feel like I'm ready. I thought I did. If you listen back a couple of weeks ago, I was feeling good about where I was in my training. The trip kind of derailed that a little bit. I still got some runs in, but no long runs. I haven't had a long run since before I went away. So I still have to run at least 15K, which I'm planning on doing this weekend. But I'm starting to freak out a little bit about this run. They have these pace bunnies. They're these ladies that run with balloons, basically. And they're at the end of the pack, and if you fall behind them, apparently Disney just has a car that comes and scoops you up, which in my head I picture like the opening of like a Law and Order episode where somebody's just walking down New York and a van pulls up and they pull you in. It's kind of how I picture, like, if you fall behind the pace ladies, a van pulls up and just grabs you and pulls you in, and like, you're too slow for this race. But I'm having nightmares about them. So I'm kind of freaking out. I've been talking to a lot of people that run, and they're assuring me that I'm not going to have any issues, that, yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a test, but that I'll be able to do it and all that. But it's only a month away, and I'm trying to be healthy and clean and all that. And we're going into the holidays. That's going to be hard. And then me, like an idiot in my training, I live in Nova Scotia. We got snow today. I mean, yes, you can train on a treadmill, but it's not the same. Right. And you definitely, I don't know too many people that would want to train half marathon type distance on a treadmill. Like, that to me would be insanely boring, really, really bad. So I'm hoping the weather cooperates. I honestly, I need 4 weeks of at least decent weekends so that I can run on the weekend and get some long runs in. But I'm looking forward to it, but I am afraid of it right now. If you've ran a half marathon and you have any kind of last minute tips or tricks, I know there's no tricks to surviving a marathon, or half marathon, but if you have any, tips of things that worked for you, feel free to share them with me. I'd love to get the input. Hit me up, The Scotty Myers Show on Facebook and Instagram, at Scotty Myers on Twitter. I will take all the training tips I can. I was running 10-in-1 splits, run for 10 minutes, walk for a minute. I thought that would be my best attack. And then I was reading a thing on Run Disney's website where they actually said shorter splits would be better. So I've been doing 4-in-1s, and I actually find I'm a little quicker with the 4-in-1. So I might stick with that as my pacing. for the half marathon. Skipping ahead to the summer of 2020, here's the thing. If you're a music fan, the summer is going to cost you a small fucking fortune. I don't know if you've been keeping up on all the tours that have been announced, and some of them big-time reunion tours, but we talked a little bit about the Motley Crue one here before. The Black Crowes, of course, going back out, celebrating their debut album, Shake Your Moneymaker. They're going to play that in its entirety, and then the rest of their hits. That, to me, is a must-see. Like, they are the number one band on my bucket list that I haven't had a chance to see live. And the brothers seem to hate each other so much, Chris and Rich, I didn't think I would ever get an opportunity to see them live. And now they're doing this tour in the summer, so I'm definitely going to see that. Of course, the Motley Crue tour with Def Leppard, Poison, Joan Jett, that is just one hell of a good time. I'm going to check that out as well. Probably going to go to Boston for that. It's the closest they're coming to me. And then, like, the Doobie Brothers are on tour. They've reunited to celebrate their 50th anniversary. The Eagles has a massive Hotel California tour going. Alanis has announced that she's doing a tour for the 25th anniversary of Jagged Little Pill, and she's taking Garbage and Liz Phair out with her. I absolutely love Liz Phair. She is phenomenal. If you haven't experienced Liz Phair's music, I highly recommend you do so. Really, really good. The album that got me into Liz Phair was called White Chocolate Space Egg. So if you want a starting point, that could be the place that I would recommend. But like Exile in Guyville is really good, and Supernova, all her stuff is fantastic. But so I kind of want to check that tour out. You know, like Garbage is a great band, and Jagged Little Pill. You can say what you want about Alanis. She kind of became a bit of like a joke about herself midway through her career. She's kind of made a bit of a comeback, but that Jagged Little Pill album is solid from top to bottom, and I would imagine she's going to sing the whole thing on this tour. So, and like I said, the Eagles, the Doobie Brothers, there's so many good tours in the summer of 2020. I actually am starting to think the world is coming to an end. Like, I think this is the sign of the apocalypse. There's so much good stuff that the earth can't handle it. It's probably going to cave in on itself with all these tours taking place. And there's still more to be in. You know, there's still a ton more. We're, half a year away from most of these tours even kicking off. So there's going to be other ones. I'm just saying this right now. Either start asking for concert tickets for Christmas, because some of these tours are already on sale. Cut back on your Christmas spending. You know what? Be selfish this year and buy yourself concert tickets, or just take out another mortgage on your house if you can, because that's what it's going to take to see all the fantastic music that is going to be being performed in the summer of 2020. Like I said, I think it could be the end. Like maybe, everybody thought 2012 was the end of the world. Maybe it's 2021 and somebody just got the 1 and the 2 backwards. I don't know. I'm looking forward to it, but it also scares me a little bit. As we record this, we're almost halfway through December. There's only a few days left till Christmas, but now we are in the heat and the throes of Christmas television programming. If you turn on the Food Network, every show is some sort of holiday baking challenge. And I don't understand why they have like 5 different shows. We were watching a bit of these while we were in San Francisco, and they all have the same judges, just different hosts. And, sometimes it's a cake challenge, sometimes it's a cookie challenge, but they're all the same damn show. Like, the sets are even the same. I don't understand why they go through such extravagant lengths to create different shows when they're the same show. But anyway, they're on 24/7. And then, of course, it started, I think, in October. And I'm not even joking when I say that. The Hallmark Christmas movies. The Sharknadoes of Christmas movies. Because let's be honest, the production value on the Hallmark Christmas movies, very low. Very, very low. It's the straight-to-home video equivalent, right? Back in the day when you would just go to the video store and those lower shelves, and you'd look down and be like, what the fuck is that? and then when there was nothing else in, that's what you would rent. That's what the Hallmark movies are. They're that equivalent. And I love the ads for them because they list off the stars like you're supposed to know who the fuck those people are. Every now and then there's one where you go, oh, that person. But most of the time, it'll be like Chad Nightingale, Laura, whatever. I couldn't even think of a last name. Star in Christmas at the Canyon. And you're like, oh, Chad Nightingale. Oh my goodness. How did they get him? Don't tell us who's in it. Just put the fucking movie on. All right. And a lot of people watch these things. My wife and I will watch the odd one. Honestly, we will. I'm not going to lie. And they're always the same. I'm fairly certain there's one script for the Hallmark Christmas movies. And they just kind of change a few words or a few job titles. Because it's always a young woman returns home to her small town and is forced to choose between her big promotion at her corporate office or running her family's general store. And when she runs into her old high school sweetheart, things really get complicated. It's some variation of that for the most part. Like that's 99% of them. And 99% of the time, she picks this small town general store and her high school sweetheart. It's just, they're very predictable to watch. They're great if you could, there's a few drinking games online for Hallmark Christmas movies. That is a great way to watch them, by the way. But you know what I haven't been able to find online? And not that I've searched deep into the web, but there are no Hallmark Christmas movie porn parodies. And in all honesty, these things are ripe for porn parody because they're all about love and Christmas, right? But it's like most of them involve somebody reconnecting with an ex, boyfriend, husband, whatever. They all have this air about it, right? So it'd be very simple to just make a porn parody of these things where it's like, oh, Becky, I didn't know you were back in town. Yeah, I'm back visiting my family for Christmas and stuff like that. And then they have the longing look into each other's eyes and want to get together for some coffee? And then you just cut to them banging under the Christmas tree. Because that's what happens. They just don't show that in the Hallmark Christmas movies. But there's a lot of sex going on in these Hallmark Christmas movies. There has to be. Otherwise, these couples are ridiculously dumb to get together without ever banging. Because, listen, if you don't have sex with the person and you marry them or uproot your entire life for them, that's a hell of a roll of the dice. I'm telling you. Some people say, listen, I'm good at sex. I've never had any complaints. It's because nobody really wants to complain. Some people, probably not that good. And I would lump myself into that. I'm probably not that good. Give my wife some truth serum. She's probably going to spill the guts on that one. Anyway, somebody out there, please make a Hallmark porn parody of their Christmas movies. If you need some financing or a script writer, my services are available. Another little story I wanted to touch on this week that just happened was Major League Baseball has taken marijuana off the list of banned substances for minor league baseball. And I think this is a great idea. Right now, major league players don't get tested for marijuana, but minor leaguers still did. And some are saying this is Major League Baseball reacting to the Angels pitcher that passed away last season from an opioid overdose and how prevalent opioids are in pain management. And that is a big issue for sports. I'm kind of hoping other sports follow suit here. Like the NFL, get with it. Maybe stop testing players for marijuana and stuff like that. I think it's a good idea. And especially for the guys in the minor leagues. Because here's the thing. If you're not familiar with minor league baseball, those poor guys are driving around in buses for hours on end to go play in small towns, trying their damnedest to make their dreams come true, to make it to the big leagues. The least you can let them do on those long bus rides is get high. Maybe, a little bit of enjoyment on those long bus rides. It's definitely going to change the meaning of high heat. On to our off story of the week. And the headline is fantastic. And of course, offs, you read the headline, you go, oh, for fuck's sake. This one, a humorous, oh, for fuck's sakes. Man whose deadly farts can kill mosquitoes hired to create mosquito repellent made from his intestinal gas. This is a real headline. A man whose farts kill mosquitoes claims to have been signed up by insect repellent companies that want to probe his anus, basically, to find out the secret of his killer gas. Now, this guy lives in Uganda, and apparently the chief of his town has brought him out to get rid of the mosquitoes because the mosquitoes bring malaria, so they're very dangerous in that neck of the woods. And basically, this guy is saving his town. If it is true that his gas knocks these insects out, and it says he can do it over a 6-mile radius, that would make his fallout larger than the fallout zone of the atomic bomb that destroyed Hiroshima in 1945. You want to talk about silent but deadly. This guy is it. He's known all over the city as the man who can kill mosquitoes with his farts. He also says he can cure malaria with his farts, which I'm not sure how he found that out or how that is administered. I don't know if somebody has to kneel down behind him, open their mouths, and he farts into it. I don't know the medicine behind this, but he says, I don't do it around people. I'm very respectful. I only drop them when I'm asked to and to eradicate insects. So this guy, a lot of times I talk about superheroes on this show and people say, there are no superheroes. They're not real. This guy is a superhero. Yes, it's a very bizarre and stinky power, but that doesn't matter. With great power comes great responsibility. And he knows not to drop this around people or he would become a supervillain. On to the geek news of the week, and we are going to start with the Wonder Woman trailer that came out on Sunday. I was in flight when it released, and as soon as I landed, it was the first thing I did was watch the trailer for Wonder Woman 1984, and I've got to tell you, that trailer was fucking amazing. There was more I wanted to see out of it, but it gave us a lot of the high notes. We got to see kind of the aesthetics that they're going for with the mid-'80s look. We got to see, Gal Gadot back in action as Diana Prince and looking amazing in the costume, doing everything she can, kicking ass like Wonder Woman does. We also got to see Chris Pine back as Steve Trevor. We got to see a little bit of Kristen Wiig, not in full cheetah mode. And we got to see a bit of Pedro Pascal as Maxwell Lord. He looked pretty much spot on to the comics. And it's interesting to bring him in, considering his history in the comics with Wonder Woman. So I'll be curious to see how he will play into it. Two big villains, Cheetah and Maxwell Lord, two massive, massive villains to put in the same movie. So, but the action was there. There was heart there, much like the first movie had. Just enough back, but showed just enough to really amp up your excitement. I was over the moon about this movie beforehand. Now I'm over Mars or Jupiter or something because it looks amazing. Speaking of trailers that were showing at this con in Brazil, apparently they also showed the second trailer for Birds of Prey, which they have not put up online yet. However, one of the big criticisms of the first Birds of Prey trailer was that we did not see Black Mask in his mask. Apparently, we see the mask in the second trailer, and it's pretty comic accurate according to reports. So that should help quell some of the concerns with Birds of Prey. I know some people online have quite a few concerns with it, but at least knowing that Black Mask gets his mask is a good thing. And sticking with DC Comics, we have a release date for The Flash. The Flash is going to be hitting theaters on July 1st, 2022. Ezra Miller is expected to return as Barry Allen, and right now, the man who directed It and It Chapter 2, Andy Muschietti, is on board to direct. So, good director. I liked Ezra Miller's Flash in Justice League, so looking forward to this. This could be a huge one for DC if they nail it right. And speaking of DC, I'd be remiss if I did not mention Crisis on Infinite Earths on DC TV. There are 3 chapters down so far. As I record this in Canada, we have not gotten the 3rd chapter yet. Netflix in Canada has The Flash, and they release episodes on Thursday. So I've only seen the first 2 parts. I'm loving it so far. Very cool cameos. It's a little bit of a slow burn to set up, although they did something in the first episode that was a bit shocking, but it's already starting to unravel itself a little bit. But I'm liking where it's going, and the scale of this is amazing. And it really got me. I don't want to spoil anything for you, but the first kind of crossover reference they make in the very first episode got me big because it harkened back to one of my favorite DC films of all time. So I'm not going to get into too much of a synopsis of Crisis on Infinite Earths, just saying it's off to a good start. Once it's all wrapped up in January, then we'll break it down a bit further. Speaking of trailers, Ghostbusters Afterlife got its first trailer, and it looks pretty good. It looks like it's got the right tone. I was digging it, even though we really didn't see any of the original cast in the trailer, and it was heavily focused on Paul Rudd, who usually not the biggest selling point, but I was digging where it was going, so I'm anxious to see a bit more from Ghostbusters Afterlife. And TV news, Marvel has closed their TV studio. Now, I know you might be sitting there going, wait, but what about the Loki TV show and Falcon and Winter Soldier and WandaVision and all that kind of stuff? Those are still going forward because they're actually under just the Marvel Studios banner. Marvel Television, those are the ones that brought us the Netflix shows like Daredevil and Runaways and S.H.I.E.L.D., those things. They are closing that wing of their studio. Some people are saying it's all because of Disney Plus. I don't know that that's the case. I think they're just trying to create a bit more synergy, especially since all the TV shows that are coming really tie into the Marvel Cinematic Universe intently. You know, the stuff that was happening on Netflix, like Daredevil and that, it was on the fringes of the cinematic universe. I think Marvel is looking for a lot more cohesion, and to keep everything under the one roof will make that a whole lot easier. So if you're a big fan of Runaways, it will debut its final season in just a couple of days, and then S.H.I.E.L.D. will return with their final season in 2020. And sticking with Marvel and Disney, Disney CEO Bob Iger was recently named Time's Business Person of the Year for his work with Disney, and he was doing an interview. And the interviewer asked him, you know, listen, Disney's bought a lot of intellectual properties over the last couple of years. You know, obviously buying Star Wars from Lucasfilm, buying Marvel, buying Fox. What do they have their eye on now to buy? Is there something out there that Disney would like to bring into the Mouse House? And Bob Iger kind of said, you know, we're not looking at buying anything right now, but I've always been a huge James Bond fan. So, you know, he's kind of like, I'd like to buy Bond. That would be, I'm going to tell you right now, that'd be awesome. I'm sorry. That would be fantastic. Disney has no issues doing like PG-13 movies, which every Bond movie is a PG-13 action movie. And I love the idea of Disney buying Bond, partly because I think they would create a James Bond centered part of a theme park. There would be a James Bond world. And I mean, how cool would it be to walk into a restaurant that they've got called Casino Royale and order your martini shaken, not stirred? You know, how cool would the James Bond roller coaster be? You know, I don't think it would affect the movie franchises that much. I think they would kind of stay pretty similar to what we have now from James Bond. It's just all the residual James Bond stuff that we might get in the aftermath. And if they were going to buy Bond, now would be the time. You know, Bond 25 is supposed to be Daniel Craig's last kick at the can as 007. So if you're going to start again, why not start with all of Disney's money? I don't know. I don't see it happening, but it lets the imagination wander a little bit about what Disney could do with James Bond. That will wrap it up for this week. Thanks again for all the ratings and reviews. I'm going to keep thanking you guys for doing that, because every time you give us a 5-star rating, you write a review, whether it's on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you're listening to your podcast, it helps bump us up the search engine. It helps with, when people are looking for new podcasts to discover, we get bumped up those lists. So thank you for all of that. And again, if you ever want to reach out to me with any kind of questions, comments, anything like that, at The Scotty Mars Show on Facebook and Instagram, at Scotty Mars on Twitter. Don't forget to subscribe to us if this is the first time you're listening. Hit that subscribe button. And if you want to catch us kind of live streaming, you can do that Thursday mornings at 8:30 Eastern. Sorry, don't even know when my show's on. 8:30 Eastern on blasttheradio.com. And until we chat again, have a great week.